Sometimes the fabric dictates the project, and in today's tutorial, that's exactly what happened. I found this fabric. You guys are gonna freak out. I found this fabric from Michael Miller. It's called, if you wanna get some, it's called 50s Kitchen. There's the selvage, and I knew immediately that we were making an apron. So let's make the easiest beginner-friendly apron ever. Here's what you need. You need 1 yard of quilting cotton. If you want to use a heavier weight fabric like a duck or a canvas, you totally can. It's perfectly fine. I'm assuming that you have quilting cotton probably coming out of your eyeballs in your sewing room, or if you're new to sewing, this is what you're comfortable looking for. So that's what we're sewing today. You're going to need a little bit of an accent fabric for the pocket. Hold on, let me just hold this up so you can see where we're going with this. I'm pretty sure I'm about to break the internet with cuteness. All right, so here's what our accent fabric is. You need approximately maybe a 1/4 yard or 1/3 of a yard. Let's call it 1/3 of a yard for that. I just have this random scrap. I don't know how big it is. Just do what you want. It's gonna go on the front of your apron. And then last but not least, we need something to tie it all together, quite literally. So I'm gonna be using 1-inch nylon webbing, which looks like this. It's a lot easier than making a really long strap with fabric, so that's why we're doing this option today. And you can buy this on Amazon for super cheap or at your local craft store. I got this box. I'll post the link in the description. I got this box of 24 rolls, so I have every color on hand that I ever need. So today we're using the cherry red because it's just so much fun. This comes in a 3.3 yard spool, and it'll be enough for me. I'm a plus size person, and it'll be enough for me to go around my neck and tie it in the back. For some of you smaller folks, you'll be able to probably tie it in the front. Whatever you decide is fine. If you want to make an even longer strap to go through and you feed it through, you can just make one of those with quilting cotton. Just buy extra quilting cotton. Totally fine. All of these options are fine. Let me show you how to cut this fabric. We don't have to cut a whole lot off, but I am going to show you options in case you need to make it a little less wide than I do. The easiest way for me to explain this is to hold it up. So open up your 1 yard fabric. Mine is a directional print. So that means that all of my images are going one way. And so I need to sort of pay attention to that in this project, but that works out fine because it's running parallel to the selvage, which is great. Now, if you decide that you don't need all of this fabric, we're going to hem some of this, but it'll wrap, kind of to my sides. And that's what I want. If you don't want it to be that wide, you can just take off some of this on this side. Okay. So hold it up, figure out how big you want it, and make sure you make it just a little bit wider, maybe 2 inches wider than what you're thinking, so that we can hem these sides and get things sorted out. Okay, I'm going to use the whole shebang and we'll see where we end up. Maybe it'll be too big. All I know is I make a complete mess when I'm in the kitchen, so this may work fine. Who knows? We'll see. It'll be an adventure. Adventure? Now, as far as length goes, again, hold it up to your body. So let's say it's going to end up maybe like right around here. The nice thing about this pattern that I'm showing you is that it's adjustable with that strap. So if you tie it tighter, it might move up a little bit higher. If you tie it looser, you can pull it down. That's what makes it so great. It's versatile for any size, any height, but you can decide here. So this is where it's going to hit me minus a little bit of hem. So we'll lose like maybe 1 inch at the top, and then we'll hem it up a little bit. And that feels fine to me. So I'm trying to do this project with cutting as little fabric as possible because it's so cute and I need everybody to see it. The first thing we are going to cut as a group together, once you decide where you end up with your height and your width of your square or rectangle, is we are going to cut some diagonal lines on either side. Okay, so we're going to make some of this disappear. You see where I'm going with that? Let me show you how to do that. What we're deciding in this step is where it's going to end up right at the top. Okay, so I like probably about this, which is 13 inches. So to be safe, I'm going to make it 15. Okay, when you hold it up, decide where you want your ties to be. I like them right about here. So keep your finger there and measure this length. That's 14 inches. So we'll make it 15 to make it easy. So I want to cut 15 inches down up to an angle where my top will be 15 inches wide. So if this is folded in half, that would be about 7.5 inches. Let me show you on the cutting mat. It's a lot easier to understand there. To cut your fabric, we're going to flip it so that your selvages are down by your belly and your fold is up near the top. And I've got this on my 10 line, my 10-inch line. So I'm going to go 15 inches to the 25 line. And I'm going to mark that past the selvage because we're going to cut that off here in a few minutes. With the fabric completely straight on your mat, we also want to mark a line at the 7.5 inch up here. So we've got 1/2 inch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to mark that right there. Now all we have to do is connect the dots. I'm going to grab my longer acrylic ruler for this because we're making kind of a long cut here. Okay, and draw your line. And then you just cut it. Just cut it.
Cut it out! Just cut it out!
I'm gonna pretend like I don't have a rotary cutter and we're just gonna use scissors. If you wanna use a rotary cutter, that's fine. I'm gonna assume you don't have one because you're starting out. So this is fine too. Whatever tools you can afford that have to do with sewing, that's what you should use. Okay, save this because it's such cute fabric. We can do something with it. All right, so let me stand up again and now you can sort of see what we're heading towards here. Okay, we've got our angled edge, right? And then we'll have it going backward, okay? You can make this as wide as you want. I'm just gonna leave it to see where we end up in case you're plus size like me and you're just not sure. If you wanna trim the sides, you can. If this feels like it's just way too wide, trim it. Trim right here. Nobody's gonna care. In fact, looking at this, maybe I may trim it up a little bit. Let's trim some of this side off here. Gotta cut the selvages anyway. So just for funsies, I'm gonna cut 2 inches off of this, and it's folded so it'll be on both sides. You don't have to do any of this. You can leave it just the way it is if you like. This time I am gonna use my rotary cutter because that just makes it a little easier. All right, let's hold it up again. It doesn't have to wrap around like a hospital gown, so yeah, that's still probably too big, but I still think it's worth trying. Let's go to the ironing board and I'm gonna show you how to press your seams. And we're gonna try and do all of them in one visit to the ironing board so that we don't have to go back. And then we're gonna sew. Now the one thing that I am gonna do now that we don't need that middle crease anymore for like our North Star to sort of figure out where we are on the fabric, I'm gonna press out this middle seam. I'm just using a little bit of water and that helps get things flat. Oh, this fabric is so cute. Grab your seam gauge, that's what this is, or something to measure the seam that you're about to fold over. I want to create a little bit of a larger hem up here. I think that makes it feel a little bit more luxurious. I don't know if that's the word. Rich? Well made? I don't know. I'm not finding my words today. So the first thing we're gonna do is fold this up 1/4 inch and press it. And the whole point of sewing is to conceal your raw edges. So that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, I've got it 1/4 inch, double check it. And now move this up to 1 inch and fold it down again. Press that. And check it as you go. If y'all like this iron, I love it. It lifts up when you're not touching it. It's the Oliso Tula Pink version, but you can get it in other colors as well. It's a pretty good iron. I like it a lot. All right, we've got our 1 inch folded over. I'm gonna double check. So I got a little bit wide on that top edge here, so I'm gonna fix that. Good to fix it while it's still warm and pliable. Lovely. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it to my side. And I'm gonna repeat the same thing. So let's do 1/4 and 1 inch. Did you know that sewing is 90% ironing? Now you know. Up 1 inch. Lovely. See how you're losing some of that square footage on the sides now and all around the edges. So that's why we always want to make it a little bit bigger than we think we need. And I'm gonna be honest, I am not an apron wearer. I never was until I had 3 kids. Well, let me tell you how that changed the game. When I was cooking, when I was younger, if I got some like flour or ingredients on the shirt that I was wearing whilst cooking, I was like, oh, I'll just throw it in the laundry, no big deal, because I was only doing maybe 1 load of laundry every 2 to 3 days. But now we're a family of 5, so I am not trying to add any more laundry to that pile than is already in there, which is typically 2 loads a day. I mean, it is insane. So what I'm thinking is if I use an apron, that might save my outfits from having to be changed out as often when cooking, because I cook like I sew. I am a hot mess. I am always covered in, let's say, ingredients, but also in the sewing room, I'm always covered in thread, and you know, you've seen it. All right, so we've done the sides. Let's do the bottom. Actually, let's wait on the bottom for a second and we'll sew these first. All right, I think that's good for right now with the pressing. We are gonna make 2 trips to this board. Sorry, I lied to you. So let's go and we're gonna sew the top and the sides. I've got red thread loaded today because why not? And I have an 80-12 universal needle. What else do you need to know? My stitch length is going to be a 2.5 for this. All right, find the top of your apron where you have that nicely pressed seam. Lay it under your machine with your seam facing you so you can keep an eye on it. And let's do 2 things. We're going to sew right here across the seam at the bottom about 1/8 of an inch away, or right along the edge. However you want to do it. Whatever you do, just try and make it straight. Yellow would have been a really fun accent fabric for this, or yeah, like for the pockets and the, you could do yellow, you could do green. Even black would make everything pop really well, I think. So much fun. Okay, when you get to the end, back stitch. And then I want you to flip your fabric over and we're gonna top stitch along the top, but from the front side so we can see what we're doing. And we'll do that about 1/8 of an inch away as well, or as close to the top as you feel comfortable. Back stitch at the end. This looks great. Okay, you've got nice stitching, everything is secured. Go to your side seams and do the exact same thing. So secure the stitch from the back side and then top stitch it from the front side so it looks pretty. And if you don't want to do the top stitch, that's fine too. It's your world. Okay, let's see what we've got. I like it. Let's tackle the tubes that we're going to be making on these little diagonals for our webbing to run through, okay? So we're making tunnels for the webbing to go through, and then when we tie it around our waist, it'll tighten the whole shebang, okay? Take your webbing and your apron to your ironing board, and I'll show you how to do this. Start with that 1/4 inch, just like we did before, and press that all the way across. Now, fold this up about 1.25 inches. So slide your gauge up to 1.25 inches. And the reason we're doing that is, and you can lay your webbing on top of it to make sure it's going to slide through. You want to have like at least 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch on either side of this seam so that you know that your webbing will slide through this little tunnel exactly the way you want it to. Okay, so at 1.25 inch, we're going to press. Again, this is why I love this iron, because if you have to pull it off, then the whole thing pops up, like the fabric, not the iron, and then it can mess up your measurements. But if you leave it on, it provides a little weight, which is nice. Okay, so there is your mocked up edge. Double check that you're at 1.25 inches. This matters because if it's not big enough to put your webbing through, you're gonna have to go back and fix it. Let's go to the other side and do 1/4 and 1/4, 1/4 and 1 oh my gosh. Do 1/4 and then 1.25 inches. Words are hard. Heavens to Betsy. since we're over here, let's just go ahead and press that bottom hem too. Unless you are a different height than, like I'm 5'8", so this will probably come down right above my knees, and that's fine. If you're short and this is gonna be swimming on you, you might wanna wait till the end to hem the bottom, and that's fine. You can wait and then put it on and see where you wanna hem it, and that would make it a little bit more fitted to you. For me, I'm just gonna fold mine up, and this time we're doing it a little different. I want a nice thick hem at the bottom, so I'm gonna do 1 inch and then another inch folded up. Since it is a little bit long on me, that'll help bring it up a little bit higher from my knees. The nice thing about this is if you're doing an inch and an inch and you're not cutting the fabric, like if you were just to cut this off and then do a smaller hem, you could, but this way it's adjustable. So if you end up putting it on and then you're like, oh, this just isn't, it's not what I was wanting, you have this fabric hanging out in the hem now that you can adjust it. If I can leave fabric in a project and disguise it in a hem that will allow me to grow and change with the garment, then I'm gonna do it, okay? If you really want your hem to press well too, you can always wet it with some water or some starch. And I promise I didn't forget about the pocket. It's just easier, I think, to just focus on one thing at a time. And you can see how quickly this starts to cinch up and become smaller. So you'll be glad if you left some extra. It'll come in handy. Back to our sewing machine. And again, on this seam, we're gonna sew this first one from the back side. We're gonna sew it as close to the fold as we can because we don't wanna have any issues with that webbing sliding right into the tunnel. So sew that one across. This project makes a really nice housewarming gift, and you can pair it with some other handmade things, maybe some reusable paper towels, a few bowl cozies, and then, you know, some other little like things you get, like kitchenwares that they might need, or even if they're brand new, if you're just getting them like they just moved in yesterday, it wouldn't hurt to throw in some paper towels and some Clorox wipes because they may not be able to find those things right away. They may be packed up, and that would be helpful. Garbage bags. Okay, so we've sewn that first one across, and we are going to top stitch now from the front side. Not way far in, just about 1/8 of an inch. Now, if this incomplete stitch bothers you, where like you stopped here, go ahead and just finish it. If you want to draw just a little line so that all of your stitches end at the end of the fabric or at another stitch line, that's cool. Draw the line and just sew it. You can do it from the front if you want. You can do anything you want because it's your sewing room. Let's see if that looks a little better. Yeah, that's nice. Shows the stitch lines crossing nicely and going to the top. I like it. Repeat that on your other diagonal line that's going to be right here. This is so much fun. Okay, looking good. We've got our sides, everything's secured now except our bottom hem. So let's secure that, throw a pocket on this, and call it a day. Same process with this bottom. Now you don't have to top stitch it because it's a bottom hem, but if you want to, you can. It's totally up to you. I'm just gonna sew mine as about 1/8 of an inch again from the folded line of my hem. And again, I do love a nice 1 inch doubled up hem. It's a very nice, thick, professional look to it. And just to reiterate, it also gives you options. So if you give this, or if you're putting it on and you realize it's not gonna work lengthwise, you have wiggle room. Back stitch at the end. Look at your beautiful apron. Ooh, she's cute. Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's thread the webbing through and we'll see how this kind of shapes up when we tie it. I'm gonna be using a bodkin to thread my webbing through, and it looks like this, kind of like tweezers with a washer on them. And the washer keeps it nice and tight around the teeth, the little arms. So loosen that up and place your webbing where the little hands are grabbing it, and then tighten up the washer again. Put it about a 1/4 inch down and then tighten your washer. Now it's nice and snug. If you don't have a bodkin, just grab a safety pin. It does the same thing. Hook it right through the end and you are going to be in business. Now we are going to start from the bottom of one of our diagonals. So like this side seam here, that's where we're going to start. And we're going to thread it through and just start pulling. Gently. If you pull too hard, you might lose the bodkin might fly off, and that's no fun. Okay, push it all the way up. It's coming together. Pull it a little bit. You're going to have a loop up here because this will go around your neck. So we can go ahead and make sure everything is straight and go back down through the top of your other diagonal so it comes out at your hip again. And that's it. Remove the bodkin. And now you can even up your webbing. Okay. Pull this up. Put it around your neck. And then, oh, it's cute. Tie her up. It's hard to tie from the back. My fingers are all clunky. And you see, as you tighten it, it gets nice and form-fitting to your person. And that's why it's so great, because it can fit anybody. Why is this so hard? I can't tie backwards. I love it so much. This fits nicely. I'll show you the back. See, it hits right at my side, which is great. Now listen, you just want to be done, call it a day. You can be done if you want, but I can't ever leave well enough alone. So I'm going to add an obnoxious pocket right in the front for all of my treasures that I need while I'm cooking. So this is a good time actually to hold this up and decide where you want your pocket and how wide. I think this would be a good width for a pocket. Let's measure that. 40 inches on the dot. Cool. That's what we're going to do then. All right, so let me take this off. Oh, okay. Stop it. Focus. Focus on what you're doing.
Focus, focus, focus.
I'm going to cut 20 inches. Well, we wanted 20, so let's make it 21 to add in a seam allowance. 21 by 11. So let me, whoo, these stripes kind of hurt my eyes. Are they hurting your eyes? I hope not. Maybe it's just an in-person thing. Goodness gracious. All right, I've got selvage here at the bottom, so let me get rid of that. Good. And move this over to the 31 so I can measure it up against the 20 line. That gives me 11. Good. What did I say? 21 inches? So let me get my larger so we don't have to remeasure it. 21 inches. Great. And then 11. My cutting got a little bit off, which is fine. These stripes are hard to cut for me because they just like mess with my eyes a little bit. All right, now we're gonna make a pocket. So what we need to do is essentially just make sure all these raw edges are concealed. Now, the other thing we could do I want to do that? We could double this up. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I don't think I need to double it up for this project, no. So what I'm gonna do is first, I'm going to hem all of these. I'm gonna put a hem on all of these sides. Let's start with the side seams. And I'm gonna show you a little trick if you're sick of ironing. I use this foot a lot, and I've shown it to you a million times before. I bet you already know what I'm about to grab before I get it. It's the 1/4 inch quilt foot with guide. And there she is. This will give you a perfect 1/4 inch every single time. You can do a larger hem if you want. Totally your call. But what I'm gonna do is just fold this over about 1/4 inch. You can look on your measuring mat here, and then fold it over again at 1/4 inch. You don't have to mock up the whole thing yet. Just get the first like 3 inches sorted out. Center your needle. And then just fold it over a little bit at a time. Could you use your rolled hen foot for this? Sure, I hate the rolled hen foot, so I try and never use it, ever. But that's not you know, your problem. You can do the ruled hem foot if you want. You can also just go, if you don't have this foot or the other one, just fold it over 1/4 inch and press it like we did before. And then 1/4 inch again. I just hate ironing. I don't want to spend my whole day doing it, so I'm not gonna. Lovely. Nice little 1/4 inch hem. Repeat that on the opposite short edge. Ooh, these stripes really make my eyes funky. Should have probably picked a different fabric. Does anyone else have this problem with stripes? Maybe it's just me. I feel like it's not though. I feel like other people have said this before about stripes. Think of all the whisks this pocket will hold. So excited. I feel like I need to go bake something now. All right. Now, we can go ahead and do the bottom and top hems too. Now we'll sew over these stitch lines again when we attach it, but I'd rather have you mock them up instead of trying to pin this to your apron and then feel all confused about like where you're supposed to be stitching. If you do it beforehand and get these all mocked up, then they'll be just, it's like following a line. You're just stitching over your original stitches. And for a beginner, I feel like that's a little bit more palatable. Lovely. And do that on the other end. You're doing a great job, just in case you were wondering. Like if you were just sitting here right now and you were like, I wonder if I'm doing a great job. You are. You are. Listen to me when I tell you, you're awesome. This is a fun project. And you absolutely can do this one even if you're just beginning sewing. It's just straight lines. That's not so scary. All right, it's all hemmed. Let's press it, just for fun. I'm not even gonna take you with me. I'm just gonna go press this and I'll meet you back here. Take your beautiful apron and lay it out on the table in front of you and decide where you want your pocket. So maybe that means you put this back on. I don't feel like it, so I'm just gonna guess. I think there looks good. So that's where I'm gonna put it. It's about 14 inches down from the top. And I actually can still see my line here, so I'm going to fold this over and make sure it's centered on that where we ironed that line out, but you can also measure it if you want. Make sure it's straight. Then we're gonna grab our pins and I'm gonna pin through everywhere except right in this center area because we are going to draw a little line which will become the divider of our pocket. So we have 2 pockets. Because one pocket this long will just be very droopy and sad. And we want a perky pocket. The other thing we're going to do on this next step is sew a U shape to connect the pocket to our apron. So we'll be sewing down, across, and up, which means that you should pin not on the sides, but pretty close so that things don't get rumpled up and wavy and wonky for you. Use as many pins as you see fit. Measure halfway across. Find your middle point, which for me is like 10 1/4 or so. Somewhere around there. I don't know, just guess. It doesn't have to be perfect. Draw a line. Last step, y'all. We're just gonna attach this pocket and she'll be done. Switch back to your regular presser foot here. I guess you could leave the other one on if you want, but it's not really gonna help you a whole lot. And we're just gonna trace the lines. So start in the top right corner of your U and lay it right on top. Or if you want to, you could make it even more decorative and go to the edge, like maybe 1/8 inch away from the edge, and that'll give you 2. Let's do that. It'll give us 2 lines of stitching, which might be more beautiful. When you get to about 1/8 of an inch away from your folded edge there at the bottom of your pocket, lift your presser foot, leave the needle down, and turn the work so that it's running along this long edge now. Straighten everything out under your presser foot and then keep going. Keep it all flat with your hand. Turn it, lift your presser foot, turn. Keep going. Oh, I like the double lines of stitches. I think that is beautiful. How pretty. Isn't it funny how thread, just a line of thread, can make such a big difference visually? Now at the top of this pocket, make sure you're back stitching, and I would do it a couple times because we want these pockets to stay put. Now while you have this upside down, just slide it over and we're gonna sew from the bottom of our pocket up to the top. Line it up with the line you drew. Just follow the line. You guys, you're on your last stitch. If you're following along with me, I'm super proud of you. Couldn't be prouder if I tried. Again, at the top, back stitch. You may want to come forward and then go backward. Overkill it. Drive it into the ground. We want it to stay where it is. It's time. Take those pins out and we're going to try on our apron. Moment of truth. How does it fit? Let's put it over. And then tie it up. I love this. What a great way to use up a yard of fabric. How often do we see those like 1 yard remnants in the remnant bin and you're like, that's so beautiful. What would I ever do with it? This! You could do this! Oh my goodness, that's so pretty! Love, 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 love. Okay, y'all, you wanna make an apron? We did it. I'm so excited about this. I'm gonna go make something. I don't know what I'm gonna make. I may have to go to the store and get ingredients, but we're making something in this. What a great way to use up a yard of fabric and some of your old leftover remnants from other projects. Easy with the webbing. You don't have to make ties. You can just buy this and slide it on through. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I can't believe it. This is so cute. If you want to see more projects like this, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I love teaching these tutorials to you guys, beginner friendly, accessible, just hanging out with a friend sewing. I'm Chelsea with She Sews Seams. Happy sewing and happy baking too.